I never thought working at a coffee shop would destroy 3 families and expose a dark secret I'd hidden for years. When those women threw boiling water on me, they didn't just burn my skin, they triggered a chain reaction that revealed who I really was and why I was hiding. Before we begin, let me warn you, this story has twists you won't see coming. If you love intense drama, shocking revelations, and justice that hits like a tsunami, smash that subscribe button right now. Hit the bell icon because this channel brings you the most gripping, real-life stories. Now let me take you back to the day my carefully hidden life exploded in the most unexpected way. My name is Andrea, and for the past 2 years, I've been living a double life. By night, I'm Mrs. Christopher Hayes, wife to one of the wealthiest CEOs in the country. By day, I'm just Andrea Bennett, a simple waitress at Morning Brew Cafe, serving lattes and cleaning tables for minimum wage. I know what you're thinking. Why would a billionaire's wife scrub floors and deal with rude customers when she could be shopping on Fifth Avenue or lunching at exclusive restaurants? The answer is complicated, painful, and it starts with a woman who decided I wasn't good enough for her son. Let me take you back to how this all began. 3 years ago, I was working my way through college, pulling double shifts at a small cafe downtown. I came from nothing, and I mean nothing. My mother raised me alone in a trailer park, working 3 jobs just to keep food on the table. I learned early that hard work was the only way out of poverty. I studied during every break, saved every tip, and dreamed of a better life. Then one rainy Tuesday afternoon, Christopher Hayes walked into my cafe, soaked from the storm, and asked for the strongest coffee I had. He wasn't like the other wealthy customers who barely looked at me. Christopher asked my name, thanked me genuinely, and left a generous tip with a note that said, "Your smile made my terrible day better." He came back the next day, and the next. We started talking, laughing, connecting in a way that felt effortless and real. 3 months later, he asked me on a real date. 6 months after that, I learned who he really was. Not just a kind man with a great sense of humor, but Christopher Hayes, heir to the Hayes Industries empire, worth billions. I almost walked away. I knew what people would think, what his family would think, but Christopher begged me to give us a chance. He said he'd never felt so alive, so himself with anyone else. So I stayed. We fell deeply in love, and 2 years ago, despite his family's fury, we got married in a small ceremony with just a few friends. That's when the real nightmare began. Christopher's mother, Eleanor Hayes, is old money personified, cold, calculating, and absolutely convinced that I'm a gold-digging opportunist who trapped her precious son. From day one, she made her feelings crystal clear. At our first family dinner, she didn't speak a single word to me. She looked through me like I was invisible, a ghost haunting her perfect family portrait. His sister Vanessa wasn't much better, constantly making snide remarks about my background, my education, my clothes, everything. But Eleanor took it further. She gave me an ultimatum at that dinner, speaking to Christopher as if I wasn't even in the room. If this girl truly loves you and isn't after your money, she should prove it. Let her live without touching a cent of Hayes money. Let's see how long this fairy tale lasts when reality sets in. Christopher tried to fight her, but I stopped him. I knew I had to prove myself, not to her, but to remove any doubt from Christopher's mind and to protect our marriage from constant attacks. So I created Andrea Bennett again. I got a job at Morning Brew Cafe under my maiden name, in a neighborhood where nobody knew the Hayes family. I worked 40 hours a week, saved every penny I earned, and started planning my dream, a charitable foundation to help kids from backgrounds like mine. Christopher supported me, but I could see the toll it was taking. He was caught between the woman he loved and the family he'd known his whole life. His mother never stopped. She hired private investigators to follow me, spread rumors in their social circles, and made every family gathering a battlefield. For 2 years, I endured it. I worked hard, kept my head down, and told myself it would eventually get better. Then 3 months ago, 3 women started coming to the cafe regularly. Patricia Thornton, Monica Ashford, and Jennifer Whitmore. They were everything I'd learned to recognize from Christopher's world. Designer clothes, expensive jewelry, that particular brand of cruelty that comes from never being told no. At first, it was small things. Snapping fingers to get my attention, sending back perfectly good drinks claiming they were wrong, never saying please or thank you, leaving messes and no tips. My coworkers warned me about them, said they had a reputation for being terrible customers, but I'd dealt with difficult people my whole life. I could handle 3 spoiled women having bad days. Except their behavior got worse. Every week they escalated. They started making comments about my appearance, loud enough for other customers to hear. They'd critique my body, my hair, my accent. They laughed when I stumbled or made mistakes. Other customers started noticing. Some even complained to management on my behalf, but my manager did nothing. He seemed almost scared of them. What I didn't know, what I couldn't have known, was that this was all planned. Patricia Thornton was Eleanor Hayes's best friend from the country club. Eleanor had sent them. This wasn't random cruelty from entitled strangers. This was a coordinated attack designed to break me, to make me quit, to prove to Christopher that I couldn't handle the pressure of living a normal life. Every insult, every humiliation was reported back to my mother-in-law like a progress report on her personal project to destroy me. The night before everything exploded, Christopher and I had our first real fight. We were at the Hayes mansion for what Eleanor called a family discussion. It was an ambush. Eleanor sat like a queen on her throne and delivered her ultimatum. Christopher, this has gone on long enough. That woman is embarrassing our family. Everyone knows she's working at some cafe like Common Help. Either you end this charade of a marriage, or I'll have you removed from the company board. Christopher went pale. The Hayes family company wasn't just his job. It was his legacy, his identity, everything he'd worked toward his entire life. Vanessa chimed in, backing their mother. She's not one of us, brother. Open your eyes. She's playing you. I watched Christopher's face twist in agony, torn between 2 impossible choices. He defended me, his voice shaking with anger, but I could see the doubt creeping in. What if they were right? What if I was being stubborn and hurting him in the process? We left that mansion in silence. At home, Christopher begged me to quit the cafe. Please, Andrea, you've proven your point. Just come home, work with me at the company, or don't work at all. I don't care about the money, I care about you. But I heard something else in his voice. Exhaustion. He was tired of fighting his family, tired of defending me. Maybe deep down he was starting to wonder if his mother was right. I snapped. You don't understand what I'm trying to prove. I'm not doing this for them, Christopher. I'm doing this for me, to know that I can survive without being rescued by a rich husband, to prove I'm not what they say I am. We yelled things we didn't mean, and Christopher stormed out. He left for work the next morning without saying goodbye. I cried in the shower, wondering if our marriage was falling apart. That morning at the cafe, I was emotionally drained. My hands shook as I tied my apron. I felt like I was walking through fog, barely holding myself together. Then they walked in. Patricia, Monica, and Jennifer, right on schedule for their weekly torture session. But something was different today. There was a predatory gleam in their eyes, a coordinated energy that made my stomach twist. They sat at their usual table and immediately started snapping their fingers at me. I took a deep breath and approached with my order pad and my well-practiced smile. Good morning, ladies. What can I get for you today? Patricia looked me up and down slowly, deliberately. Well, don't you look tired today, Andrea? Trouble in paradise? Or should I say trouble in your little fantasy world? My smile faltered. How did she know to push that exact button today? Monica leaned forward with fake concern. You know, we've been meaning to tell you something. We know who you really are. Or should I say, who you're pretending to be? My blood ran cold. Jennifer laughed, a sharp sound like breaking glass. Andrea Hayes. That's your real name, isn't it? Married to Christopher Hayes, playing dress-up as a working girl. Tell me, how long did you think you could keep up this pathetic act? The cafe seemed to tilt around me. They knew. They'd always known. This wasn't random cruelty. This was calculated destruction. My hands started shaking so badly I almost dropped my order pad. I don't know what you're talking about, I stammered, but we all knew it was a lie. Patricia smiled, cold and triumphant. Oh, honey. Eleanor sends her regards. She wanted us to give you a message. This is what happens to trailer trash who try to steal what doesn't belong to them. The words hit me like physical blows. Everything made sense now. The escalating harassment, my manager's refusal to protect me, the calculated timing of their visits. The next hour was the longest of my life. They ordered complicated drinks and sent back every single one, claiming they were wrong even though they were perfect. They made me kneel down to pick up a purse that Monica accidentally knocked off the table, laughing as I collected lipsticks and compacts from the floor while other customers watched in uncomfortable silence. Some people were filming now on their phones. This was going to end up online, another humiliation to add to my collection. Jennifer leaned down and whispered in my ear as I knelt at their feet, "This is where you belong. On your knees. You're nothing but a gold digger who got lucky. Christopher will realize it soon enough. Eleanor is making sure of that." Tears burned in my eyes, but I refused to let them fall. I wouldn't give them the satisfaction. I stood up, my knees aching, and walked toward the counter with their latest rejected drinks. I needed to remake them again, to endure just a little longer. But then Patricia called out, loud enough for the entire cafe to hear, "Oh, Andrea!" "One more thing?" I turned around, and that's when I saw Monica standing up, holding the pot of freshly brewed coffee I'd just made. It was still steaming, the kind of hot that carries warnings and burns instantly on contact. Everything seemed to happen in slow motion. I saw Monica's arm draw back. I saw the cruel smile on her face. I heard Patricia say, "This is what you deserve." And then boiling hot liquid was flying through the air, and before I could move, before I could even scream, it hit me. The pain was beyond anything I'd ever experienced. The scalding water hit my chest, my neck, my right arm, soaking through my uniform instantly. My skin felt like it was on fire, like I was being burned alive from the outside in. I screamed, a sound I didn't recognize as coming from my own throat. My legs gave out and I collapsed to the floor, writhing in agony, and all I could hear was their laughter. They were laughing. The cafe exploded into chaos. Customers rushed toward me. Someone was calling 911. My coworkers were shouting. Through my tears and the blinding pain, I heard Patricia's voice, casual and satisfied. "Oops. How clumsy of me. That looked like it hurt." They were gathering their purses, preparing to leave like nothing had happened. Monica threw a few bills on the table. "That should cover our coffee. And the entertainment." Then the cafe door burst open with such force it slammed against the wall. Through my pain-blurred vision, I saw a figure in an expensive suit pushing through the crowd. My heart stopped. Christopher. My husband was here, and the look on his face was something I'd never seen before. Not anger. It was beyond that. It was cold, controlled fury that made the temperature in the room drop 10 degrees. He knelt beside me, his hands hovering over my burns, afraid to touch and cause more pain. His voice cracked. "Andrea. Oh God, Andrea." Then he looked up at those 3 women who were frozen in place, their smiles finally gone, replaced by dawning horror as they recognized him. Christopher stood slowly, and when he spoke, his voice was deadly calm. "Nobody leaves this cafe. Patricia, Monica, Jennifer, sit down." Patricia tried to smile, tried to use her connection to his mother. "Christopher, darling, it was just an accident. We were just—" He cut her off with a look that could shatter glass. "I watched you throw that water. I watched everything. I've been sitting in my car outside for the past hour because I couldn't focus at work after our fight. I came to apologize to my wife. Instead, I watched you 3 torture her, on purpose, coordinated. And I heard every word about my mother sending you." He pulled out his phone and made a series of calls while the cafe remained dead silent, except for my whimpering. "Yes, this is Christopher Hayes. I need police at Morning Brew Cafe immediately. I'm also calling my personal attorney, my head of security, and Dr. Matthews from Mercy Hospital. My wife has been assaulted." He paused, listening, then his voice got even colder. "No, not a random attack. A planned assault coordinated by my mother, Eleanor Hayes. Yes, that Eleanor Hayes. And yes, I intend to press full charges against everyone involved." Patricia went white. "You can't. Eleanor will—" Christopher turned to her with a smile that had no warmth. "Eleanor will what? Protect you? You just assaulted her daughter-in-law and gave me documented evidence of her conspiracy to commit harassment and assault. You didn't break Andrea. You handed me the ammunition I needed to finally stop my mother's reign of terror. So thank you for that, at least." The ambulance arrived within minutes. As paramedics worked on my burns, applying cool compresses and preparing me for transport, Christopher held my uninjured hand and whispered promises that this was over, that I was safe now, that he would handle everything. Police took statements from dozens of witnesses. Someone had filmed the entire attack. The 3 women were handcuffed and led out in front of a growing crowd of onlookers with phones raised. At the hospital, as doctors treated my second-degree burns and prepared me for skin graft surgery, Christopher sat beside my bed making phone calls. His entire legal team was mobilized. His PR department was preparing statements, and he was going after his mother with everything he had. "I found the text messages," he told me as I drifted in and out on pain medication. "Patricia's phone records. My security team has been investigating for weeks because I suspected something was wrong. My mother paid them, Andrea, $50,000 each to systematically break you down. This was attempted psychological torture that escalated to physical assault, and I'm going to make sure everyone knows it." The next few days were a blur of surgery, pain, and media explosion. Christopher held a press conference from the hospital, and I watched it on the television in my room. He stood in front of cameras from every major news outlet and told the truth. All of it. Who I was, why I'd been working at the cafe, his mother's campaign against me, the coordinated attack. He showed photos of my injuries, with my permission. He named names. "My wife, Andrea Hayes, is one of the strongest, most determined people I've ever met," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "She came from poverty and worked for everything she has. When my family questioned her motives for marrying me, she chose to prove herself by living independently, saving her own money to start a charitable foundation. She asked for nothing from me except respect and love, and my mother, along with her friends, tried to destroy her for it. Today, I'm announcing that I'm filing criminal charges and a civil lawsuit against Patricia Thornton, Monica Ashford, and Jennifer Whitmore for conspiracy to commit assault and aggravated assault. I'm also pursuing all legal options against my mother, Eleanor Hayes, for her role in orchestrating this attack." The backlash was immediate and massive. Within hours, the story was trending worldwide. Video of the attack went viral, and public outrage was unlike anything I'd ever seen. The 3 families were torn apart overnight. Patricia's husband filed for divorce that same day. Monica's family business lost 3 major contracts within 24 hours. Jennifer's father, a prominent politician, faced calls to resign. Country clubs revoked memberships. Private schools expelled their children. Their social world collapsed completely. But the real shock came from what Christopher's investigators uncovered. In digging into his mother's financial records to prove the payments to those women, they found something else: years of embezzlement from the family's charitable foundation. Eleanor had been stealing hundreds of thousands of dollars, maybe millions, from an organization meant to help underprivileged children. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. The trial became a media sensation. I had to testify, still bandaged, still in pain, and tell a courtroom full of strangers about every humiliation, every calculated cruelty. But then something unexpected happened. 27 other service workers came forward with their own stories about these 3 women: waitresses, retail workers, housekeepers, all with tales of harassment, abuse, and cruelty that had gone unpunished because of wealth and connections. What started as my personal nightmare became a movement. The prosecution built a case showing a pattern of behavior, years of abuse against people these women saw as beneath them. The defense tried to paint me as a liar, a manipulator who provoked the attack, but the evidence was overwhelming. Security footage from multiple angles, testimony from dozens of witnesses, text messages between Eleanor and Patricia planning the escalation, financial records of the payments. When the verdicts came, I was sitting beside Christopher, holding his hand with my scarred one. Guilty. 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 Patricia got 3 years in prison and a $5 million judgment. Monica got 2.5 years and $4 million. Jennifer got 2 years and $3 million. The judge's words rang through the courtroom. This was not a momentary lapse in judgment. This was calculated cruelty against someone you perceived as powerless. This court will show that no one is above the law and no amount of wealth excuses this behavior. Eleanor took a plea deal to avoid trial, removal from all Hayes family business operations, a $25 million settlement paid directly to me, and a restraining order keeping her away from me for 20 years. She also faced federal charges for the embezzlement. The woman who once ruled high society like a queen was now publicly disgraced, disowned by her own son, facing prison time. The surprise in all of this was Vanessa, Christopher's sister. She came to visit me in the hospital a week after the attack, tears streaming down her face. She'd testified against their mother, revealing years of manipulative behavior she'd been too scared to confront. "I'm so sorry, Andrea," she sobbed. "I was jealous of you, of how happy you made Christopher, how free. Our mother raised us to believe we were better than everyone else, and I was too weak to see how wrong that was. You're the strongest person I know, and I should have been welcoming you as a sister instead of pushing you away." 6 months later, I'm standing in a brand new cafe, the flagship location of what will become the Andrea Hayes Foundation cafe chain. Christopher and I rebuilt Morning Brew together, but this time with a mission. Every employee makes $25 an hour minimum, gets full health benefits, and has access to college scholarships. We hire people from difficult backgrounds, people like me who just need a chance. The settlement money and our own investments have allowed us to plan 20 more locations across the country. Christopher left the family business entirely. He started his own company focused on ethical practices and fair treatment of workers. We're equal partners in everything now. Our marriage is stronger than ever, forged in fire and proven unbreakable. As for Patricia, Monica, and Jennifer, they're all in prison now, working in the facility's kitchens and laundries, finally understanding what real work feels like. Their families are bankrupt from legal fees and settlements. Their names are permanently associated with cruelty and privilege gone wrong. They became cautionary tales told in business ethics classes and viral videos about karma. Eleanor is living alone in a modest apartment, her health declining, none of her old friends willing to associate with her, her own children refusing to speak to her. She created her own hell by trying to destroy me. And me? I carry scars now, both visible and invisible. The burns on my chest and arm healed, but left marks that will never fully fade. But I also carry something else. Proof that I survived, that I'm stronger than anyone trying to break me, that truth and justice still matter. Oh, and there's one more thing. I'm pregnant. Christopher and I are having a daughter, and we've already decided how we'll raise her. She'll know both worlds, the privilege she's born into, and the humility of understanding that all people deserve respect, regardless of their job or background. She'll learn her mother's story, not as a tale of victimhood, but as proof that courage and integrity matter more than money or status. Those 3 women tried to destroy me that day in the cafe. Instead, they freed me. They exposed the truth, brought justice, and gave me a purpose bigger than proving myself to people who would never accept me anyway. Sometimes the worst moment of your life becomes the catalyst for your greatest transformation. That's my story. From coffee shop floor to boardroom power, from victim to victor. If this story inspired you, hit that like button and share it with someone who needs to hear that justice is real. Comment below. What would you have done in my situation? Should Eleanor have faced harsher consequences? Let's discuss. Subscribe to this channel for more incredible true stories of courage, revenge, and redemption. Remember, cruelty may wound, but courage transforms. I'll see you in the next story. Stay strong, stay kind, and never let anyone dim your light.